Okay, we all are 1 month older, so let's start with the content and the show. So something interesting happened, and I was approached by Monsieur Alexander Gyurka, and he is a student at a school in Austria, and he said, our teacher is awesome, and the teacher really likes Java EE. So, and it is actually a fanboy of airhacks TV. And I said, okay, no problem. So let's cover the teacher. And this is the Mr. Thomas Stütz. And he's interested in Java EE, and he made the students excited about Java EE. So now is your job. So this teacher will have his birthday soon. So you have to send him some wishes and at least follow him. He has just 21 followers, which is a shame. So after the show, it should have at least 100 or more. And everyone from you should send him a best wishes. And it seems like Monsieur Stütz, Thomas Stütz, is the best Java EE teacher ever. And this is really important. I just remember my time. I had really great teachers, and they made me really exciting about C and C++ back then. And and this is why I still enjoy programming. So kudos to teachers like Monsieur Stütz, and you should follow him. So I have to sign up. So I will do it after the show. So I will follow Monsieur Stütz, and it's also your job to follow him. So this was this, and big thanks to Monsieur Alexander Gyurka mentioning his teacher. This is unusual. What's interesting is his class is like 5A, which is usual, and I suppose H is like Hochschule, is high school, and IF is for informatics, I think. Okay, now what happens in the airhacks land? So first, I'm announcing a new workshop in Munich, Web App Essentials. Why this? So I'm after the React and Angular courses, and what I did, the first 2 hours were almost identical because I introduced the concept of ECMA 6, the JavaScript and so forth, and I hate about talking about the same content twice. So what I did, I extracted whatever necessary to a standalone course which just covers no frameworks, just DOM, JavaScript, and CSS, hands-on, so just hacking, just coding without any additional frameworks. And the idea is to show what's possible without any additional framework. So I won't mention the basics about JavaScript basics in React and Angular courses anymore. What's also interesting happened. There were some attendees who attended both the Angular 2 course and React afterwards. And I have to say, all the attendees liked React a lot more than Angular everyone. He said, okay, React is nicer to use and easier to use. I actually like both, but React is, of course, easier. If you're building just single page app, React seems a little bit nice and cleaner. Okay, so this was this, and then I got the idea, most requested course ever, Java EE performance. So the only problem is we probably don't have the largest room in April the 6th anymore. So the audience will be a little bit smaller. So what I think in this course, what we will do, we just focus on performance and robustness and scalability, bug hunting, memory leaks hunting, bottlenecks, synchronized static, whatever is exciting in Java EE world. Also with diagnostics, monitoring. I actually forgot, I think, to mention monitoring in the agenda. Implementing monitoring and usage of tools like Java Mission Control and Memory Analyzer and Visual VM and whatever. So this is this, and this is the workshops I mentioned. And of course, if you like, come in December. So we get daily registrations. We have the largest room, so there shouldn't be a problem. So now back to Twitter, and I got the first question is, use SystemGetProperty or create string JNDI resource and inject via resource. And I got the question several times, and what strikes me, many people don't even know that you can use JNDI for configuration. You could do this. The problem I have with that is usually there is no nice way to administer this on application servers. So what I would prefer is not even SystemGetProperty. So what I will use is, what I did here is environment entries. So just make it larger. This is from the JC2 project. And why environment entries? Because then you made the map injectable, or it doesn't have to be a map. You can just use individual keys. But the nice story is you can configure it using Docker from outside. And this is, I think, the way to go. So this is the what I suggest you. So system property is the easiest possible way. Just go for it. If you're on Docker, environment entries might be even better. And by the way, there is no better way. I would ask, what is the easiest possible way? And then I would choose properties or environment entries over JNDI properties. But if you already have, nice tool available, how to administer JNDI properties, then go with the tool. So it really depends what you would like to do. Okay, and by the way, I described this in the Green Book, Real World Java EE Patterns, and how to bind the JNDI properties as a possible way to configure applications. So I hope this question is answered. And by the way, the JC2 project, what it basically does, where is it? Here is it. It makes injectable JCache properties, and so you can just use, for instance, Hazelcast or JCache or JCache, how it's called, Infinispan, and make them available for injection. I also described that in the Java EE microservices workshop. Java EE microservices workshop. And somewhere you will find this live. So there should be a video how to inject properties. Service configuration with environment entries and Docker. So if you're curious about this, look at that. Okay, so covered. So what happens in Twitter? Nothing. Chat, busy. Yeah, the Brett Tucker, he was in Munich, and he had, as I remember, Brett, he really liked the glowing wine at Airport Munich. And so Brett was there from USA. So actually, I don't know why, there's lots of attendees coming to Munich from USA. And we had the last airhacks even from India. So I'm really glad that so many people come from all over the world to Munich. So long. And the funny story is, I thought I can just do it in German. And what happened was the very first airhacks in Munich, there was actually no German. So they came from all over the world. So thank you for this. Okay, so we had this. So what other topics do we have? So let's start with the regular show. So first, the first one is the longer description, but easy question. And this is, should we focus on, make the font a little bit larger. Should we focus on servlet, like servlet filters, security, or CDI state and whatever? So should we, where should be the focus? Should be the focus on web security, or is it better to focus on CDI security? And I would say it really depends. I remember Java EE projects where we had to authenticate. It was instance-based roles. So what basically meant, depending on the data set in the database, we had to decide whether the user is authenticated or not. So what we had to use is we had to have JPA-specific security. So this would be even deeper than suggested here. But he's right. Usually, you could just focus on the servlet and JAX-RS security. This is what usually happens in my project right now with React and Angular. By the way, I'm involved 50-50. 50 of my JavaScript projects are React and 50% is Angular 2. So it's not like I'm just do just Angular 2 or just React. And all of them we just focus on usually token-based security. And if there is something more to implement, we use Keycloak. So I think there will be another question soon. So we use Keycloak for more evolved security. So and he asked, container code, application code. What I also tend to do sometimes is to mix both. So I use the container code for authentication and the custom code for authorization. And I even wrote an article, and I did it in several screencasts. So let's see whether I will find it. Java Magazine, Java EE Security, and Adam Bean. This should be this. Exactly. It's a 3-year-old article. And what I did there is I just used the authenticated user, the principal, as key, and exposed my own principal, which was looked up in a database, and then I was completely flexible. So this is what I also did in the past. Okay, so we have this. Hopefully covered. And the next one is, So the shy guy says, many thanks for this great work. So actually, I'm not working here. It's lots of fun. And by the way, there's this, the guy from Austria was the only is the first example. The another example was in Java 1. Someone approached me. There was the Java user group from Paraguay, and they liked the airhacks DB. So there's like a phenomenon, you know, a great time saver for me because I only have, you know, to answer all the questions once a month. But people seem to like it. So and now the question. Are connection pools more reliable than CMP, container managed persistence, application server data sources in enterprise applications? So what I think, what the question is JDBC more reliable than this? Please, are the times we're running exposing a web service? Oh, okay, this is a different question. So first, this one. I think my opinion didn't change a lot. So I consider two use cases. The first use case is you are interested in the individual rows in the table, like, you know, user, blog entries, articles, whatever. But there are cases where you are not interested in the instances, you are more interested in the data. And one example I can give you is, I think, archive@mbin.org. Let's see. Exactly. So this thing is generated. So this is actually the contents of my whole blog. And this is generated by nhydrator and SPG. So what it does is the nhydrator connects directly to database, reads as a stream the table, converts it to a row set, and converts that to a JSON stream, which is transformed with SPG. It's like a JavaScript template engine, so you can just look at that here. So this was the nhydrator, and this nhydrator is project for imports, exports, where you are more interested in the whole table, not the individual data set. And it's used a lot. I also use it, and there is no ORM, no CMP, nothing. Also, you can use it on server. And it's actually even used in some commercial projects. So if you go to my blog and search for interviews, you will find some. So why that? Because because I'm more interested in this just, you know, to fast read the data and convert the data in place to a HTML page. I would never use JPA or ORMs for this because it would be a huge overhead. So I will have, you know, look at the table, generate the JPA entities, then convert the JPA entities back to JSON without any added value. So I hope your question is answered. And this is the same in my projects. In one of my current sub-projects, we are accessing directly stored procedures at a host system. So there is no ORM in place. We just use plain JDBC and we are done. In other projects, we use JPA because it's faster and easier. So before we, you know, fiddle with JDBC row sets and result sets, JPA and Entity Manager is way faster and easier. Okay, I hope I answered the question. So Twitter is quiet. Clarification. When would you recommend going to the JASPIC way to do authentication? If you have some, you know, if the default is no more enough, then use JASPIC. So I know some customers who use JASPIC because they have custom, how it's called, authentication servers, and they plugged in this with JASPIC. So and if going that route, what would be the advantages? You have the total flexibility with JASPIC. But before you look at JASPIC, look at Soteria. It is like a reference implementation of Java 8, which already runs on Java 7. So Roman81 asked me, did you have a highly loaded network projects in Java using Netty framework? Not, but I think Twitter is based on Netty. And as you can see, it's pretty stable right now. So we are streaming like crazy, Twitter don't crash. So does not crash. So Twitter is based on Netty, to my knowledge. And I used, in one project, it was, no, it's not used now. Wait a second, it's called, I have to blog about this. I forgot, actually, forgot to announce the project. What it is, 3 years old, is a FTP server which runs on Java. It could be based on Netty, but it isn't. What it actually uses, I forgot it actually. It uses an Apache software thing and FTP servers. Wait a second. It was on Apache FTP server. No, it's not based on Netty. So Netty is high performance stuff and it will scale. I didn't use it recently. I thought I use it now, but it's based on FTP user. So Twitter is based on Netty, to my knowledge. Okay, perfect. So now go with the next one. By the way, you remember the last airhacks, my system crashed, and the reason for this is the first time in history of airhacks I used Keynote slides. And what Keynote did, it changed the frame per second settings. So my screen capture tool couldn't capture the screen which was black. And this was the reason why the whole screencast crashed. So by the way, there is a saying, slides don't crash. In my case, they do. So usually nothing happens if I code. So it was stable, except the last Java 1 session, everything was way too slow. I still don't know why, but it was too slow. But I will never open Keynote or PowerPoint in my presentation because it really crashed my machine. So be careful with slides. So we covered this. We covered that. And I lost my list of questions. So back to this. So are the times we're running exposing a web service on the JVM are more robust, better than on an application server, say Whitefly or Payara? So I think we have a different opinion about the application server. So I'm usually not using application server because it's faster. Usually, why should application server be faster than JVM? It is a JVM app. I'm using application server because they are more convenient. So like, deployment is already set. Administration, done. Logging, done. Nice UI, done. And with JVM, you will have to do a lots of plumbing to get the same result. So I'm actually, regardless how simple the applications, my projects are, I'm usually using a full-blown Payara or full-blown Whitefly, so don't even consider the micro options usually. And the only reason where I would choose JVM over application servers, let's say this is high security project, and you would like to reduce the attack surface. So if you just have JVM, there's less to attack than the application server. But then be careful, because if you're just running on JVM, and then you will pull half of the internet of libraries, then you will get, the same problem again. So they might be, but I don't know any scenario where JVM would be, more whatever than an application server. Because if you, actually on my YouTube channel here, I recorded some, it should be memory usage of Java 7 application servers running on Docker. And the overhead of application servers, if you're interested, look at this. So I compared the application server to JVM, and this was, in my eyes, almost no difference in regarding the heap size. So just look at that. Okay, and by the way, because I already opened this is also one of my topics. So what I did, I recorded some screencasts with long-standing open questions, and health checks on Docker. Someone asked me this on airhacks, and also Payara Micro and Docker were related to this. So what I did, I created a doclens image with Payara Micro and use Payara Micro for deployment and show the difference to full-blown Payara. So if there was several questions about this, we come back to that. And I was invited to conferences, Highload in Minsk, and I did this high-performance Java EE talk was uploaded, and building mobile-first services with the killer microservice platform, of course, is Java EE. So it was in Bucharest, in Romania. Okay, so back to the questions. I hope it's answered. Yeah, Monsieur Rat's Cache Dev, Red Cache Dev is quiet, so he seems to be happy. Twitter is okay. So I'm really curious whether Monsieur that's ich. I think it's German. That's ich. Or it's something completely different. That's ich. Well, ich is I, and that's is English. So, but he mentioned something I mentioned on the Java 1 talk. In your Java 1 presentation, you talk about using the automatic host resolution via Docker. So, for instance, con and prod. And as you said, you are using your local application server to develop and not Dockerized instances. But what if you develop in 2 services at once? So he asked me, what happens if I have multiple services at once? Do you just edit your host file, time to resolve the hosts if you are working in con and prod at the same time? So the issue is what you can do with Docker. There's also a screencast, but no, it's still there. There should be a screencast about staging external resources with Dockerized Java applications. So if you are interested in that, look at this. This is exactly what he's talking about. So so what you can do with Docker, if you start a Docker image, you can pass an entry to an etc host file, and Docker will resolve that. So it will resolve this host with whatever you like. And he asked, what happens if you have multiple such resources? So first, if you think about microservices, the idea is you have microservices in one data source. It's really not that common that a microservice will access 5 data sources. So usually what I have is one-to-one relations. So my current project is an Oracle database, and different project is ElasticSearch. My current project, so there is no issue there. And before this, there was one Postgres instance. And the other microservices are Dockerized, so you don't have the issue all the time. But if you will get 2 such URIs, then you get 2 entries. And but I don't think you will get more than 2. So I don't even know what the issue is. But if I would develop 2 instances twice at the same time, 2 microservices at the same time, what I would do, I will create 2 domains on my Payara or Whitefly and launch them on different ports on my machine to have more realistic scenario. And by the way, it is not exactly true what I said, because what I said at Java 1 is usually I'm not running the application server on Docker during my development time. But in my current, this is true in the first phase. So what happens usually is in the first few weeks, we're working like crazy with Java E, and then the work is basically done. So we don't have to touch the application server a lot. And then I push it to a Docker, and then I just spend all the time in npm yarn or whatever just to develop the JavaScript frontend. So this is the difference. So if the Java E work is not done, I'm using the stock applications of my machine more often. But if it's stable, I just run Docker because it's more convenient. And it's more repeatable. Usually I mess up, my local instances always because I create lots of proof of concepts and samples. So they never work, my local application servers. A good one, though. Let's see here. Hey, cool. Someone from Greece and Ecuador. So this is like a global audience. So thank you for watching. It's crazy. So this is a good one. Could you tell about deployment pipeline? It's trivial to build Docker images on continuous integration. But how do you update it in production? Do you SSH to production servers and run script already stored on prod server? Never. So this is the reason why I created the Dockland stuff. And the Dockland project is actually more or less what I do in production. So I have one image which just comprises the operating system in Java. Another image here, let's say Payara, where is it? Let's say Payara full inherits from the Java. And then I have, let's say here, Payara pink, which would be the application image. And this is just the application. Now the thing is, this image is going to be rebuilt in case there's a Java patch or operating system patch. The Payara thing image has to be rebuilt in case there is a Payara patch. And this is rebuilt several times a day. So what it basically means, if you have a critical bug in production, you will have to rebuild, if this is operating system bug, this image, then this image, and then you can launch this image on different ports, reroute the traffic, and kill the old one. It's like rolling updates. So this is what happens. And actually, I had a conversation several times with the ops people. They always tell me, yeah, we can now patch, our operating system. It's like, really? You can patch everything without restarting the server? It's like, not everything, but we could do this. Okay, with Docker is even better because you really could do this. With HA proxy, you can swap the instances in a running system. So this is real world. So and this is you know, a simple version of this, and this is actually Docklands from GitHub. So if you go to GitHub and search for Docklands, so you will find all the images here, and there are some new images. So what I had, ElasticSearch, I have Kibana, is not announced yet on my blog, no time for that, and Payara Micro. We'll come back to this. So there is some Payara Micro image if you're interested in this. So you see it's 7 days old. And on that note, what was it? I think hub.docker.com. I think it's user and airhacks. Airhacks. Cool. So these are all the images from Docklands in binary format, so you don't even have to build them. You can just download them. This is older, but it's already used a lot. You can see airhacks Java was pulled 114 times, which is not bad, because this I didn't mention it too often. So it's like, you know, hidden project. Okay, cool. I hope you got that. So what it basically means is not like you have one huge image. With Docker, you have several images which depend on each other. And the cool story is your Java EE build is then crazy fast, because Java EE clearly separates the infrastructure from the business logic, and therefore is perfectly suitable for running on Docker. Okay. Cyprus and Kazakhstan, crazy. So we have to count, you know, the amount of countries here. Okay, now. Yeah, someone asked me a question, and if you write me a mail, it's like, please re-ask here, because it's a good question, and I don't have time to answer the questions via email anymore. So, by the way, no one has the time, so email is like crazy to answer a question properly. Having the option between multiple Docker containers versus multiple Payara Micro instances, which would be preferable? What do you lose gain with each one? I had the requirement to use Payara Micro inside Docker containers, but figured out I could as well just use Payara Micro by itself. So first, what I did, I just prepared a Payara Micro image, and what it does is it is based on the airhacks Java, and just downloads the Payara Micro, and the huge benefit of Payara Micro is there's no installation. You can just launch it with Java -jar the Payara. And the killer feature of Payara Micro is there is still deployment in place. So you're not forced to build the uberjar, fetjar, or whatever it's called. So what basically means is you can still do something like this. So you can say, I'm using Payara Micro, but my sub image just comprises the ping, which is probably 5K or something. So this build of this image is crazy fast, and Payara Micro has only been built in case the Payara Micro changes itself. So the great story of Payara Micro is still there is a deployment in place. So what's the benefit of running this in Docker? So the benefit is the Docker image just exposes port 8080 always, and you can run multiple instances from outside and mapping the ports. Which another benefit is you get, you know, a package which will always run. And a huge advantage in my case, there will be no more Java migration projects, because you can launch the Payara Micro images on different JVM versions, and on the host machine there is nothing installed. So this is just, you know, clean machine without any knowledge of Java. It only Docker host is installed, and everything is cleanly managed by Docker, and you get the statistics from Docker. So I think, you know, the advantage is huge. Even the whole build system is great. So if possible, I always would use Docker over running it natively on the server. So this is like Docker for me is like, you know, combination of Maven and Git. So like you get everything in one place, and the packaging format is specified. So you check in this into your repository, your image pushed to a registry. You can pull from the registry and just run it. And if you would like to run multiple instances, just run it multiple times. If you would like change the environment entries, you can do it with -e a flag, or you can add hosts. So you get great flexibility with that. And the build times is like crazy. So if we go here to Docklands, let's see whether I will find this. And it was micro. So there is a build file. So if you just build the image, this is all. So the image was built. So the Payara will take longer, but now I could run the image. So what is actually the name? Docker run -d -p, let's say 8282 port 8080, and name, let's say micro airhacks. It was Payara, I guess, micro pink. Cool. Docker PS, and it's running. So Docker logs mic. So and you have the logs. So I mean, it's beautiful. It's a lot better than running it without the Docker abstraction, in my eyes. Okay. So no port conflicts, nothing. So if you would run it on blank without Docker, you would have to configure Payara micro differently to run on different ports. So you will have to have a script or whatever, and with Docker you have that. Okay, cool. So now we build and run, even during airhacks, a Payara micro image. So to summarize this, for me, it's important that the micro stuff has a deployment in place. If there is no deploy, I'm not interested anymore, because the war will contain your business logic plus the whole infrastructure, and you will have to rebuild everything. Also, just a fraction of this changes, and this doesn't make any sense to me. So, so what is better, Solr or ElasticSearch? In my impression, is ElasticSearch is a bit more popular. Both are very similar, and both are based on Lucene. The advantage of Solr is a pure Apache project. The ElasticSearch is actually a company called Elastic. Having that said, I usually use Elastic right now in all my projects, and that's Solr, but both are very comparable. And so this is, I would say, pick whatever you like. My decision to use Elastic was, is in my eyes, is a little bit, my perception is a little bit more popular, and there are more books. Let's see, trends, right? Google.com, is it? Cool. ElasticSearch versus Solr. I think hopefully this is the inf data. I will have to compare it. I will remove it and see ElasticSearch. Yeah, as you can see, ElasticSearch was it gets more and more popular. Interestingly, here both were not very popular. What was it? Oh, Christmas occasions. But then, you know, ElasticSearch is more and more popular, and Solr just remains the same, or the popularity even decreases a bit. This was also my perception. And yeah. Okay, so I hope it was an objective opinion. This is a good one. So someone approached me during the Java user group and say, look, we use Docker, and the Docker has a memory limit, and that seems work strangely with Java, and we use Solr, and it does not work properly. And it's like the -XMX settings in Java and the Docker limits do not work properly. So what's the problem? And my answer was, I don't have any problem. So my server, I have many instances, and everything works fine, and never heard about this. And of course I heard about this, but it has nothing to do with Docker. And I will try to find, should I prepare? Is it something to do with RSS, Linux, Java? So there is a resident memory set. And this resident memory set is heap, thread stacks, shared object, code cache, and off heap usually. So there are multiple components. So, and if you specify JVM -XMX, it's just a heap. And in this particular case, someone used Solr, and Solr uses off-heap memory. So what it means, memory map buffers. So they store stuff outside the heap, but it still counts as total memory. So so therefore, the Java virtual machine memory consumption can be significantly more larger than the Linux perception. And by the way, I mentioned it several times. It's the same problem you usually get on Linux. If you start several hundred threads, you could get out of memory error. Also, it looks fine with top, because top will show just the heap and not the full. You will have to ask Linux to show you the RSS, which is RSS, which stands for resident. What was it? Forgot the acronym now. And this is the resident RSS memory definition Linux. Resident set size. This is the resident set size, and this is what Docker or Linux considers as total amount of memory, and -xmx considers just the heap, and therefore you will have to add more memory limit to Docker than you assign to Java. And actually, it's nothing to do with Docker. It's more about Linux. Okay, this was a good one. So it was asked during the Java user group meeting in Poznań, and it's in Poland, a great one. And I answered it right now by myself. So exactly, similar question. Lucene, Elasticsearch, or Solr. Lucene is used by both. So Lucene is now the absolute basic. I wouldn't use Lucene standalone anymore. In one project, we use Hibernate Search, which is also based on Lucene. So it's like you have the full text search with JPA or Hibernate. So in several current projects, I use Elasticsearch as great API. And why also Elasticsearch is more popular is because Elasticsearch is a part of the ELK, how it's called, stack, not stack, yeah, stack. It's this Elasticsearch, it is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana, and therefore it is very well known in the whole microservice movement. Okay, there is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Okay, cool. So I will just close that. Also let's see what happens here with the Twitter. Lazy Twitter. Karwendel, not bad. Orleans, Pakistan, crazy. Venezuela, nice. So we have already 10 countries or something like this. So let's... So someone from Brazil asked me, my question is, what do you study, read, and what are your references nowadays? What do you recommend for building Java microservices with Docker beside yours on-demand workshops? How to be a better Java developer? So I think the better Java developer, I think it is easy. So with Java we have the unique chance to write simple stuff. So I would say the less code you write, and the simpler the code gets, the better Java developer you become. I think the worst what I saw is one Java class with 500 annotations because we can. So be a good developer at all, I would say, for me, it means write simple code and play in leisure, not at work. And how to learn? So I mean, it is harder because I read a lot, but I read because I'm curious about different opinions. But Java world is not that easy. So tomorrow I will spend one day at the JAX conference in Munich. So we'll talk about microservices. So if you like, come to me. We have a chat after that. And one day later, I'm in Malmö, also Aura Dev conference. But the thing is, I will meet there is going to be a Java day and a microservice day, and I meet a lot of Java gurus out there, and we don't share the same opinion. So even I had some conversations with the Whitefly guys and with Payara guys, and we are not always the same opinion. There's too much going on. And if I read other blogs, like if I read a CDI blog, the blog is all about CDI. Then if you read a JPA blog, it's just, you can do whatever you like with JPA. And the JAX-OS guys say, okay, you don't even need an application server. You can run JAX-OS or Jersey just on JVM. So for me, I'm considering, the Java EE as a platform, something like Rails or something ready to use, and I don't care which API it is. I just use it to build applications faster. And this is, I think, the way to go. So what it basically means is, what you should do is, to pick something and just write, for instance, a block engine, a nice topic, or whatever you consider to be interesting. So start such a project, which should be fun to you, and then try to write it as simple as possible and rewrite it as often as possible to make it even simpler. And then read stuff. Don't, start with reading, because you go be crazy. There's too much stuff going on. Just, start with your work, try to write simple code, and then read. And this is how I learn. Although right now I read crazy about JavaScript, because a little bit crazy ecosystem, and I would like to see what the others are doing. And this is exactly the same. If I would just start reading, I would go crazy. So what I do instead, I'm fully involved in several commercial projects, and then I read on my side in my leisure and compare the experiences. I hope it will help you. Okay. The next one. So let's see what happens here. No questions here. ElasticSearch is schemaless, kind of. So in my current project, so this is here, schemaless. So in my current project, it isn't schemaless, but usually you have schema because you will have to set the indices and the types. And it is only schemaless if you can live with the default schema, but I always have in larger. My project is right now not large, but somehow I would say complicated. And we created, for instance, I already had to create a schema to set up, the date format, for instance. And yeah, so therefore this is a theoretical advantage. But yeah, perfect. So I wanted to ask you if EJB jar will activate the possibility of containers to handle EJBs. I'm not sure, because I don't use EJB jar a lot, or not a lot. I didn't use it in 5 years or something. But there's one unique feature in EJB jar. You can set up default interceptors for everything. So this is where I would use EJB jars. And I think, let's again, and I mean, this is the reason why I write block, because of my notepad. Interceptor. And the cool story is, what you could do, you can specify in EJB names an asterisk. And what this would mean is it will apply this interceptor to everything. And this is not possible without EJB jar. So this is the only thing. This should be an old one, right? 7 years old. Okay. But I have to also admit, I don't have a lot of experience with EAR anymore, because everything what I do is war right now. I didn't deploy EARs for years, so I don't even know whether they are working on application servers. But I don't know the answer. Activate. I mean, lots of my projects, legacy projects, are on WebLogic server. And but I never heard about this, that the EJB jar will activate something. So there are unique capabilities. This is true, but not to activate stuff. So GRPC is a great one. So I look at this. So this is actually an interesting protocol, remote procedure call, which from Google. It is a cross language, but a little bit, I would say it is similar to protocol buffers, or for me to IDL. So if you go to Java, for instance, you will see what you will have to do is you will have to specify a protocol buffer file, which is for me the same as IDL 15 years ago. And from then you can generate Java code and whatever code. It's nice, but I would always prefer JAX-RS over this in case I don't have any problems with performance or whatever. So, how it's called, GRPC is interesting stuff if you are not interested or you cannot use JAX-RS or HTTP based communication. Then it might be interesting. What's also interesting is there is an old Hessian Java protocol. This is we use also a lot. It was a little bit, I think, it's more interesting, but it's ancient. And why it's more interesting? Because it is just a servlet. And there was no stub generation going on, and this was the concept was more interested. But yeah, I would use gRPC if there would be reasons, to do this just for fun. JAX-RS is good enough. Just GitHub.com again. Okay. Let's see. I think we covered this. And Monsieur Hashka had exactly the same, how to manage security patches. By the way, this is alumni from airhacks. He attended as a hardcore Java developer, and he liked a little bit React. So actually, I guess I answered the question already with because with the layering with Docker. So what you will have to do is you will have to rebuild the whole chain. I hope it is. I think we already covered this. So I will rebuild everything and restart the containers. Okay. I hope, Mr. Hershka, just ping me if you are not happy with the answer. Okay. Someone Engelhardt. So thank you. What about Swagger for design-driven API in JE? I don't know what design-driven API in Java actually means. So we use Swagger for documentation purposes or to expose the nice web page, which is additional documentation. But design-driven APIs, I'm a little bit afraid of this because there was design-driven contract with SOAP, where people try to design the API with XML schemas, and it was actually terrible. Yeah. So for me, I Swagger with a tool from also alumni from airhacks, and this is JAX-RS Analyzer from Monsieur Dashner. And what it does, it generates the Swagger file without any use of the Swagger annotations. So you will get the Swagger file without being dependent on Swagger. So which is great. And there's not only Swagger. You can JAX-RS Analyzer is also able to output the ASCII doc as well. So you're not limited to use Swagger. Okay, so we covered this. And Monsieur Hershke, are you happy with the answer? If not, re-ask on the chat. Okay, cool. And now, even more interesting questions. This is a great week. So, also an alumni from Costa Rica, I think, Mr. Monges. I also met him at Java One, and we shared some experiences with coffee in San Francisco. So, and by the way, I covered this, but I think in the same week, Mr. Monges from Costa Rica and people from Sweden, from North Sweden, attended the workshop. It was Christmas, and in Costa Rica is warm, and in Sweden is usually crazy cold. And the Mr. Monges told me it's not that bad in Munich. There's like 0 degrees Celsius or whatever. It's actually warm, and the people from Sweden say it's crazy cold. It's like, you are crazy. I mean, you are from Sweden. It should be warm to you. And it turns out that the people from Sweden were accustomed to dry air. And the Mr. Monges had to say, okay, I don't care. This is Mr. Marvin, I think is the first name. I don't care, actually. So it was a funny experience at the airhacks. So, but his question is a great one, because the problem he has is there's an absolute path builder, and this is a common question. And what the absolute path builder does, it adds the location header to HTTP. And the problem is, if you have Nginx or HA proxy, whatever, with HTTP redirect, what you will get here is the location of the server, but not the location of the visible endpoint, so of the load balancer. And this is, I think, is the problem from what he describes. And the answer is from Mr. Red Cache Dev, proxy redirect. And what you can do, you can specify the proxy pass attributes. So, and what will happen then? The Nginx will pass the headers, will rewrite the headers. So in your app, you will get the actual headers from the load balancer. And this is very similar to modJK, transparent. I just closed. Yeah, closed that, but found it again. So this is actually the thing, and AJP is a binary protocol which between the Apache and Tomcat and Apache and Payara, Glassfish and Apache and Whitefly. It actually runs on my blog as well. And the thing is, hence it is not HTTP. It passes all the information in a binary way. So in the container, you have all the variables which work properly because it looks to the end user as if it would communicate with the Apache or Nginx, and there is nothing behind. So the issue is you have two machines, but for the outside user, it looks like one machine. And if it uses HTTP redirect, like stock HA proxy or Nginx, then you will get a wrong machine information. So the answer is you will have to configure your proxy with that, and this works with modJK, mod balancer, Nginx proxy, and I will have to double check HA proxy for this. I didn't try it yet. Okay. Question answered, hopefully. Christoph Schäfer, yes, thanks. One of our projects, we need strict control on the app specifications. So design-driven and to generate stuffs was an idea. It is a dangerous what Mr. Schäfer suggests. I was also in such projects, and what happened was they try to generate JAX-RS APIs, and my question was why we don't use SOAP then, because if you would use WSDL, you will get the same effect. So if you have to generate code in 2016, is already a bad sign. Okay. Mr. Hershka, question is, how to automatically update running container in fields every time when images are updated on something? Is there a possibility? How to automatically update running containers in fields? I think there is a Docker Compose, so I think this could help you. And there is a Docker Compose. What I do actually on my server with app. And there is a command Docker Compose, I think it's called up or update. And what Docker Compose does, it specifies dependencies between Docker containers. So if you say Docker Compose up, yeah, it is up, and there is like update as well, it will check out in registry whether there are changes and restart all the containers in the proper order. So I think this is what you will need then. I hope now Monsieur Hershke is on Docker Hub. Yeah, that doesn't matter whether it's on Docker Hub or not, because it will change, the difference, and then you will get it. So I think Docker Compose will do this. At least it runs on my server, and this is similar. I don't have Docker Hub. I have a private registry, so it checks whether there is a newer version in the registry and then installs or runs that. Cool. So I always close my questions. So we are pretty far, I think. What are the approaches you take to secure RESTful web services? So the first approach is, of course, already me, stock Java security. If this does not work, I would use Keycloak. This is my current approach. So, and if not Keycloak, OpenAM from ForgeRock. This Come on, open. Or key cloak while just key cloak. It's not Whitefly. This is actually a Whitefly server. I also there's a Docklands image. Still does not work, but I will also push a Docklands image with Keycloak. Okay, this would be my approach to security. So, and this is, so there are some slides from Lightband, and I got a tweet from Monsieur Vahovic, and let's see. Exactly, and many people already ping me about the slides, and I don't know what's going on here. It seems like a research project or whatever, like a crazy nose, and now there are the issues. So, and he says this is not the goal of microservices. So Monsieur Vahovic is right. He says it's not our goal. The goal is scalable dev process, or I mean scalable dev process. For me, the goal is building applications fast and easy, and no one cares about, you know, what we do inside, actually. For some companies, M services on top of Java are fine. Actually, and my answer was, I'm going here. Actually, microservices on Java usually exceed my customer expectation. Actually, my current project, my client always asks me, you know, it's crazy how productive Java is and why it's so fast in production. So this is okay, this is like it is. I mean, it was never different. And now I would like just to briefly discuss that. It says hundreds of libraries are part of the base platform. So I'm not actually sure what this hundreds of libraries means, because if these are the JSRs, it's not true. It is not like hundreds, probably 20 or 25 at most. And libraries like jars, this could be, but this would be not different to Spring, Drop Wizard, or Node.js or NPM. So we say like we cannot use React because no kidding, React or Angular. There's 50,000 JavaScript files in Node modules, so we cannot use it. So, I mean, then with this statement, you know, the whole JavaScript ecosystem will die immediately. So upgrading individual libraries partly impossible, but this is always true for everything. If you go to JVMs, like partly, you know, patching JVM is possibly impossible. RIs, I think, is this reference implementation. This is not true because, so go to Git tab, and what I'm doing, I'm following the Payara guys, and if you look at the Payara people, the they I don't know whether they are sleeping or not, they're like hyperactive, so they are patching all the time. And if you go to Payara fish and go to downloads and releases. Okay, no, download now. Cancel. There should be release notes. There should be release notes. Then on GitHub. Payara. Releases. Exactly. So look at the release notes of Payara. What you will find, so I cannot find the release notes, you will find what they actually did, and they patch all the time, everything. So you get, you know, the whole thing, the whole thing with Payara, the added values, you get the patches. And the main thing about Web Liberty Profile or JBoss EAP7 is you get the patches. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So let's go back here. The next one. Required client libraries, JAX-RS, logic drifts into the client. I don't get it, because this JAX-RS is just client library, which exposes HTTP. So, and now we use it all the time to communicate between microservices. And it is, you don't have to use it, but it's a really convenient way. You could use, you know, URL HTTP connection to do the same. I don't get it. So I will probably have to listen to the presentation, because the slides, if I read it, it does not make a lot of sense. Or yeah. Then Java E doesn't support other languages and can't really embrace the polyglot approach to microservices. Okay, but I have to admit, none of my clients ask me whether we would be able, to develop the application in Scala, Groovy, Clojure, Java at the same time. Actually, they're happy that we can stick with one language. But even though I think nothing prevents you to run Groovy on your Java application server, it should just work just fine. And actually, what I did, Nashorn is running like crazy on my application servers. I use it all the time and still works. No independent technical evolution in teams because of the common base platform. Also not true, because what you could do, you can use Java 7, Java 8, and in one server, whatever, because we have one Docker image per operating system. So from the research, I don't get how to interpret this, but this distributed monolith, reason 1 of 9, why Java won't help you with microservices. Yeah. What could be that what I'm doing are not microservices, but no one cares. I mean, then we do have to rename it to something else. If microservices are about running one project in different languages with different set of libraries, then I'm doing something else usually. But but this is interesting. So we have to take a look at this. And I was pinged on several conferences about this, and I have no idea what's going on here. So thank you, Lukasz, and I covered this right now, and it is way easy to talk about this during a show than write tweets with 140 characters. Okay, cool. Then let's see. What time is it? I just close that, and GIS again. And this is a good one. When developing a REST application, what's your approach for deploying the JS-based UI? Do you put it on the same war, create 2 separate wars, and deploy them to independent server instances, or just copy the JS app to exactly? So in my current projects, we use Docker. We use this. So there is a Jenkins process. We have one war for the Java backend. It's just a plain folder, a zip, which runs on HTTP Apache. I think it's Apache or Nginx, I don't even know. And they communicate with each other. At the same time, another project based on Tommy, I know they have 2 wars because Tommy is the only thing in production. It's like an enterprise system, and they communicate via HTTP. Another project is, I know, is also a war, and the reason for this is we misuse JSPs to replace environment entries. So if you have a Angular or React, the problem is if you would use localhost in your local machine, it will work. But if you have 2 wars on 2 different servers, there is no more localhost. If they run in Docker, they could still communicate, but keep in mind the JavaScript part is in the browser, no more in Docker. So you will have to use a proper URI. And in this particular case, we used JSP to replace the host and the number part. So the answer is you don't need war, but the war can give you additional possibilities, like for instance manipulating the JavaScript files. So if you don't need this, just go with plain HTTP. Okay, the almost last question is, my question is about JDBC and ORM, because every project includes the ORM, Eclipse Link, Hibernate, and Apache Cayenne. Interesting that you know Apache Cayenne. This is an older one. I actually almost forgot about this. It was actually a very interesting project. I will just take a look whether it's still alive. Hey, nice. So I will have to look at this. So take a look at this. It was really interesting project back then. I know it for years. It's a very old one. And see, I'm just curious with, so this is now your homework assignment, play with Cayenne. Now he asked, what is my take on this? And what I don't like about the answers here is, but what about the performance? Because the benefits from developer's perspective are very clear. Very clear means you probably like more JPA than JDBC, I guess. So from the performance, it depends, of course. I mean, with JPA and Hibernate, you get caching. With JDBC, you will have implement caching by yourself. If you have, manipulate huge amount of data, it really depends what we are doing. Usually, again, I'm looking at this from the business point of view. So okay, are we more interested in instances of objects like user with ID 1, or I'm more interested in the whole table? Like, for instance, block would be an issue. In block, you are not really interested in, having an article as an object with business logic, rather than you are only interested in something having a title, content, and a flexible amount of tags, for instance. Then I would just go with plain JDBC. And before I use Spring JDBC or Apache Commons DB utils, I would consider just use plain JDBC, what we do right now in my project. So we use just plain JDBC without any additional frameworks. So my general approach is focus on JVM, on Java SE, then on Java E. If this is not enough, then go and pick whatever framework you like. Okay, go back here. Mycroft, release notes, exactly. So let's look at the release notes. Perfect. So you can see, for instance, updated modules in current Payara. This is what Hazelcast. Grizzly is a part of the FTP server. Mimepool, I don't know what it is. JaxPatch API 1.0, JPatch, Weld 235, and Tyros is the WebSocket specification, and some new features. So if you look at this, I mean, they replaced a major parts of the API, and I think what's different is the philosophy. So having Payara or Whitefly or Tommy, whatever, you are no more interested in fiddling with the libraries. You are paying someone, or you are trusting them to do the right work for you, and you focus on business logic. This is actually my approach. I'm working with Java since 1995, and I really lost interest in patching my own libraries because it's a boring job. So, and therefore, I would rather use Payara and focus on my really interesting business logic than, patching Hazelcast by myself, or Grizzly is even worse. Because you can ask the Payara guys, they have probably a lots of, class loading problems, class cast exceptions, whatever, and it's really not fun of fixing that. So it's a lot easier for us to focus on business logic and forget about, the crazy plumbing. Okay, thank you. So now we have the release notes. Yeah. And of course some bug fixes, but this is what they updated, and this happens behind the scenes. And the cool story is, I hope this is the newest Payara. So if you go here, the application server, and this is the, where is the Payara? No Payara. The reason is the first time in the history of airhacks, I downgraded to NetBeans 82 because I couldn't find the newest release. And but what I have on the, wait a second. So if I would just use the Payara 163, which I think is the newest one, my application will still run on it because all the libraries were replaced. But the cool feature of Java E is I'm compiling against the API, not the patch libraries, and this is the huge advantage of application servers. Okay, cool. Thank you, Mike. And by the way, Mycroft is one of the crazy committers of Payara who keep, my timeline busy. Okay, now it's a lots of things going on here. So they try to solve problem by themselves. And now the very last questions from myself. This actually, I got an email actually weeks ago. And in my book, I mentioned serializable transactions. So is it true? Because transactions are not serializable. And what the reader meant is Java I/O serializable. And what you have to know is, this is actually a funny one, transaction serializable. And exactly. And what serializability means in transactions is it appears as if there is no concurrency. So there's the highest degree of isolation. This would mean serializable, serial execution, not serializing Java objects on disk. And in my book, I mentioned the serializable transactions, like transactions coming after each other and not in parallel. And this is a funny coincidence because in Java we have Java I/O serializable, and in transactions we have serializability. I think. Wow, it's a long one. 1 hour and 10 minutes without any problems because I didn't use slides this time. So you see, it works.
Okay. Hashcat, exactly, Robert. Try the Docker Compose and see green blue with should work like a charm. So I think we are done. So thank you for watching and see you on upcoming conferences. In fact, WJAX in Munich tomorrow, day after Aura Dev, and this is everything I think in this year. And there is still one airhacks in December. Just ask, Mr. Brett Tucker and Mr. Mongus, they attended them. And yeah, thank you for watching. See you on airhacks.com. And one of the question is whether I'm working on online version of React or Angular 2, and the answer is no. What I think about, and I will record soon, is like a version of the how it's called, the Web Bootstrap project. So I didn't call it Web Bootstrap. I renamed the course actually, because I thought if I will name it Web Bootstrap, anyone will think this is the Twitter Bootstrap. So this is Web Apps Essential. I will probably record something like this, like, the absolute essentials for Java devs, explaining how JavaScript and ES6 is working, CSS and DOM as foundation for other frameworks. This is what I will do, or I already started to do actually. I hope it is also in your interest. So thank you for watching, and yeah, really from all over the world is crazy. And yeah, check out Java, JavaScript, and if you would learn whatever you like, have fun and just try things out. And bye, see you next month. Bye.